Welcome back, everybody. It's here at the grand finals of the Pluto Cup in EU. I'm Beanies, joined alongside Belly, and we're going to be getting back into the action very quickly here as we will be loading up onto our first map of the series here, Belly. It's Oasis. We've seen it before today. It's nothing new, but these players, they may have a new mentality and a new way to play the map than we saw before.
Absolutely, especially after that initial series, what is going to be important here for OllieBurn, if we manage to get to City Center to get Freyr off the high ground from the Ana, with the Ana, I should say, that is going to be a thing to like control the high ground or deny enemy control of high ground. And with that, indeed, if OllieBurn manages to do that with their preferred brawl style play style, then they could indeed still bring this one on back. So they definitely still have a chance to win this one all out.
Exactly. And so with Oasis officially loading up right now, we will be getting our first look at the first map available, and it's going to be City Center as our first choice. And City Center is a map that we have seen quite often lend itself to Pharah play. And when Pharahs are in the sky, I mean, you got to think of someone like Toxic Flow, and you got to think of someone like Royals, both of which have whipped out Pharah in the past.
Absolutely. Both also apparently preferring the projectile DPS heroes. Toxic Flow could potentially bring the Pharaoh now, but this is indeed the city center where we had Freyr just kind of keeping the team alive from up on high. So that is definitely one thing to keep in mind. Maybe you put someone on a hero that can start controlling the high ground, start getting a Genji, or maybe have a Diva as the off tank, something of that sort. But at the moment, it does look like it's going to be primarily just Brawl versus a Brawl. Brigitte's on the board, at the very least, one Ana. And OllieBurn, indeed, Shevchenko has been going strong with the Reapers. To see that will come out to play again is honestly not that surprising.
And well, we will officially get these heroes locked in, and there we go. We have that Sombra Reaper composition coming in here. Royal's going to be using this pick for the first time today. I believe any team really has run Sombra today, so we'll get a nice little helping of that. And in the meantime, though, Toxic Flow gets a rude awakening right there on the Tracer, gets hacked, gets dropped almost instantaneously, and now Claptune is going to have to try and stabilize it without their flanking DPS.
Especially also with the Sombra on board, trying to hack the main tank can be very detrimental for the red team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Zach and Big Baum, though, are able to keep their team in this with multiple eliminations. Chips as well going to take down Saphira Blue. So yet again, Claptune, unfortunately, they did lose someone early on, but they're able to stabilize like we saw a lot in the quarterfinals match, or excuse me, quarterfinal, the winners finals matchup, and no different here today in the grand finals.
It's indeed not looking that different. You've got Claptune, who's got a lot of pressure potential, while OllieBurn really wants to play off of this hack from Royals, or indeed potentially this EMP, but that takes a bit of the damage away that Shevchenko now has to pick back up, which is not easily done. So that is going to be primarily the thing.
Exactly. Toxic Flow, though, sitting up top here, going to have that McCree just waiting to hit that high noon timer. Unfortunately, he is quite a ways away from even getting close to that, so he'll just have to sell for that left click and wait for Big Baum to really put in the work on that Ashe as well, because the rest of this team here just absolutely dominating the side of, OllieBurns, as they really just looked a little too just disjointed in that fight, and it's going to really hurt them in the long run, because while they do have that Sombra EMP available, definitely a fight-winning, game-changing ultimate, but on the other hand, they don't have any ultimates to follow up with that, and they're going to have a lot to deal with on the other side of Claptune in just about a minute or two.
Primarily, indeed, there's nothing to really follow up. Claptune is also very spread out, so even managing to hit the right target, and Shevchenko just gets taken out.
That was such a risky coach gun jump right there, Belly. I mean, taking that risk, you don't want to see it too often, especially in such a precarious predicament that they're in right now, and Freyr is really having a field day on this Ana right now. Actually landed that sleep as we cut away, so Freyr popping off on the flex support, putting in work for his team, making sure that no issues to be found with Claptune's lineup.
And I mean, look at no issues. Claptune has no issues, has got 6 ultimates coming up. OllieBurn still trying to build up something. Like, you're already at last fight territory and you want to bring out this EMP burst graph or something.
The EMP does come out right there. It's going to hit 4 members, I believe, and a nice little charge coming in by Missy, but the bubble is here. The EMP did not provide the value you would expect, but Missy's Shatter does everything and more. They're able to completely drop their opponent, but nobody's died yet. How did nobody on Claptune even fall? There was a 4-man Shatter. There was a 4-man Graviton Surge, but at the end of the round, Claptune is the one standing tall.
Claptune getting the victory in that fight, and now it's up to OllieBurn to try and bring this back, but it does seem like Claptune is at the very least on their way, or has the goal in mind to clear this out quickly. I believe both of these teams are still trying to wait for dinner, and it feels like they just want to round this out quickly to just get some food in. Claptune looking strong, though. As we go to university, if I recall correctly, OllieBurn looked quite strong on this one. So perhaps they might be able to bring this one on back. The Toxic Flow going over to the Pharah once again. We've seen this before, being able to pick up essentially all of the kills earlier on a university. The question is whether OllieBurn has learned from this. They do have a McCree on the board, so if the focus on Toxic Flow is there, that value should be going down pretty rapidly.
And hopefully the Royals on that McCree can make that value smaller and smaller as the round goes on, but it's going to be difficult because Toxic Flow, we've talked about, very good at playing the geometry of the map, and that concussive blast right there going to knock Royals off the side of it, to be exact. A very nice use of that non-damaging ability to find an elimination, and I mean, Claptune just kind of steamroll their competition and take control of the point almost right away.
Positioning was there a bit questionable. Royals indeed trying to take that high ground, which is honestly not a bad idea, but for that to work, you need to at least have some control over this airspace that Toxic Flow is taking. Now already up to nearly the barrage, and we've seen how much destruction this can bring in these previous matchups.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're talking about the barrage bringing destruction, but even just normal left clicks coming out of that Pharah is going to rain down hell onto their opponents. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to get past this line that's been set up by Claptune, and Toxic Flow does in fact fall there, but it's not going to matter too much because of that Mercy Pocket and Ion keeping everyone at bay. 2 eliminations from the Claptune Zarya is going to shore up this defense yet again, and you know, we've had, I think this is what, the 3rd engagement we've had, and it just hit 50%. So these fights they're going quickly, but they're quickly falling at the hands of Claptune, who now have almost every single ultimate available to them.
Well, there's a lot going to be used in this fight, and a quick denial of Royals.
Yeah, I mean, we just see the fight starting to break out, and 2 ultimates are used just like that. Coalescence going to be thrown out in response to Claptune's aggression. Chipset having to back up and do a little dope-si-do around the point. He's able to get back, though, and he's just left there holding left click, and he's not falling at all. The healing is superb. The help is immense. And now, with Claptune able to just finally get these eliminations, we're going to hit 80% on the point, and it's just 1 fight left, if even that, because of the staggering.
That's gonna be the question. Absolutely, you're gonna be coming up to a Grav and a Blade, and you're gonna need to hit them, but you're not gonna be able to like this.
That's disaster, Belly.
That is massive. So Shevchenko is gonna have to honestly do this alone. Maybe Missy can still hit the Shatter, but it's still gonna be an uphill battle and a half.
Oh, there's an uphill battle, but now it's going to be Claptune going back to spawn. So that uphill battle just got a little bit easier for OllieBurn. A 35 HP Shevchenko is able to pull out 2 eliminations and avoid getting dropped right there. So at the very end of this round, we do see a recontest coming in here from OllieBurn, and they are successful.
They are successful. They've got a few tools on the board. There's still a late trade that happens there. Pulse Bomb for a kill. OllieBurn has a Grav, has a Shatter, is coming up to the Coalescence. The Toxic Flow will be coming up to another barrage. And again, we've seen how much destruction that can give, especially Ion, who has a Graviton Surge of their own. So combining those 2 together could just be a fight lost once again.
Oh, we have a Graviton Surge being used early in the fight to take down Claptune. A Coalescence does follow suit by Saphira Blue, shoring up this fight win. But, you know, something that always ticks in my head when, you have that 99% at your back is you don't want to use too much more than you have to. And I feel like Saphira Blue's Coalescence right there may have been a little bit of overkill that could be more useful in this oncoming fight.
could indeed potentially be Toxic Flow already hovering like a hawk to bring the damage, and once again, along with that Graviton Surge, that could become devastating. And if Missy now also does not hit the Shatter, this could be all she wrote for this map and this fight.
Yeah, that Shatter is really going to have a lot of weight on it. It's going to be Missy having to support the team right now, and the barrage comes through as the Shatter is used, and the damage is massive. The Graviton Surge clumps up everybody, and even though the barrage was dropped out of the sky, it's a soft landing there for Toxic Flow, and we will see the fight go over to the side of Claptune, and they're going to take this first map of Oasis.
This is indeed where that fatigue comes on in, I'm sure. Claptune also had a bit of a break while the previous fight was going on. OllieBurn has been going non-stop this whole time, and that is something that you're going to notice. That is something that you're going to be feeling, and you're going to be feeling it in the communication. You're going to be feeling it in the play. So this is definitely not an easy matchup to still take. Now it's Claptune's... It is in the grasp of Claptune to bring this on home and to get the 2-0, to get the victory and win this whole Pluto Cup on EU side.
Exactly, and Claptune taking that 1-0 series lead, looking to keep their momentum going here, going into the next map. You know, seeing that 2-0, that's the first 2-0 that Claptune was able to pull out against OllieBurns, and so doing that definitely shows a kind of confidence that we see Claptune have, and maybe that break they had because they won the winners finals is giving them that little extra edge where they don't have that fatigue, as you mentioned. They don't have to worry about any of that kind of stress affecting them as well. And I mean, I don't want to speak on it too much, but Toxic Flow's Pharah for a lot of that round, I want to say, was just untouched. I mean, the initial 99% that we saw Claptune take, Toxic Flow was not a very highly prioritized member to take down. And when he was taken down, Toxic Flow had already picked off one or two other members, and a Resurrect was right there for him.
Absolutely. It's also a thing of positioning. Like, if you're going to die somewhere where your Mercy can res, it was every time it was dying somewhere behind their own team and being able to just get the Pharah back into the sky and keep those fights in the favor of Claptune. Now, going to Nepal, which would be the next map, and that was the one that OllieBurn has been looking good on so far. They've been managing to get a fair few maps of this, so maybe they'll be able to bring this one on back. But once again, the fatigue will be setting in. You're going to be losing a bit of focus. You're going to be losing a bit on the speedy decision making, like just the response time. It's like, what do we need to do? When do we need to do it? Like, that's gonna start dipping ever so slightly after so many maps. So Nepal, once again, very open. It's gonna be Sanctum. That's the one that will very much be a crutch for OllieBurn. If it starts on Sanctum, then that could really be detrimental for OllieBurn, because they already had trouble on that map. If Claptune gets that map first and manages to win it very convincingly, that's really going to affect the mental and any preceding maps after that.
Exactly. I mean, now that you have that leverage of Claptune, where you have that 1-0, no matter what, going into this next map, you, even if you do end up losing it to OllieBurn, you don't have to worry all that much. OllieBurn, on the other hand, has given up that one chance that they had, that one extra life in this series, and now it's going to be not perfect Overwatch required from here on out, but it's going to be very good, if not near perfect Overwatch required to beat out Claptune, because of, I mean, we have history. We have the previous series that they played, and we have that last matchup. And I really want to see Shevchenko step up to the plate a lot more. We saw Shevchenko dominate earlier today in the losers final, a crutch or a key member of coming out on top in that losers final. And in that first map, Shevchenko just felt silenced.
Very much felt silence, and you're gonna need all members together to bring this one on back, and it's a bit of a focus fire thing. It's a bit of a also a target priority thing, and it is difficult to get Toxic Flow out of the sky, because as soon as you start focusing Toxic Flow, then the rest of the team starts pushing in on your front line, and then you need to avert your retention back to the front line. So then Toxic Flow has got free reign again. But it's going to be Village as the early map. Now, the question is whether either of these teams are going to go for this bunker attempt again, and whether they, if they do that, whether they go out aggressive again, because that is very much not a good idea. If you're going to be bunkering up with the Mei and the Symmetra, you stay on the point and you just try to stay safe and just get the walls off, get those one hero picks, and just keep the enemy staggered out continuously and try to get that percentage as high as possible. But if they're not going to be going for that, then it becomes a question of who is going to be winning the high ground fight, where usually those initial fights break on out. Looking at this as well, Claptune will be looking to get Toxic Flow on the Pharah once again. So having that one come on out is definitely something that OllieBurn needs to deal with, and they've got a Genji and a Sombra in play, so that is absolutely a question here.
And, you know, looking at the side of OllieBurn's, their composition does not lend itself to be something that can deal with the Pharah. So either it seems like they're going to go down the route of ignoring the Pharah and trying to win the fight before she can affect it. But Toxic Flow, we've seen time and time again, this hero pick is just dominating early on in the fights, taking down one, looking to possibly take down more, as Toxic Flow really has control over this entire map with Claptune.
Absolutely, though even with that, Claptune's still trying to play this safe. And the trades are coming on through, and these hacks as well are going to make this very, very difficult for the main tank to really take the space that they want.
Yeah, this Genji gang a little too aggressive right there. Shevchenko trying to do a little bit too much, will end up falling, although that is space that was needed for OllieBurn to take the first point here. So OllieBurn able to strike first blood on the objective, collecting some early percentage here. And we have a moment where the fight seemed to have slowed down, but it's about to explode once they meet on the point.
Absolutely, and Toxic Flow trying to build up the barriers as well. Still has a bit to go, but these hacks onto Chipset is really putting a rough spot here for Claptune to get this aggression in.
Yeah, the hacks really feel like they're just... They do a great job at exploiting weaknesses in teams. You know, if you become too reliant on one person or too reliant on one ability, Sombra takes that away from you, and now, you know, your Reinhardt shield isn't there anymore, or your Zarya bubbles aren't as readily available anymore, and if you're coordinating that as a team, those hacks get focused down like that, and next thing you know, they're done. But unfortunately, Code Eclipse is going to actually fall right here after hacking Claptune, so it gets turned on his head right there, and now it's going to be up to Claptune to use this barrage to get one member, and only one, but that's going to be just enough to win the fight here for the team, even though it's taken quite a while here, Belly, as they do end up accruing 60% of the point before Claptune can even take it back.
Claptune also making sure that OllieBurn does not have a widow on their team. He's getting some tactical crouches in to avoid those headshots coming on through. Royals having a grab, though, for this next fight, so that could be very, very painful, as Claptune has had to use a few ultimates of their own. Still coming up with some, but OllieBurn definitely an advantage here.
Oh yes, OllieBurn's gonna have a big one. Thanks in hand to Shevchenko, popping off with this Dragon Blade. Gonna be using 2 swipes and a dash to pick up his eliminations there. And Freyr, just that lone Mercy left alive, trying to stall out the point for as long as she could. Unfortunately, that hero not quite tanky enough, so we'll have a nice little reset here before Claptune tries to take back the point here from OllieBurn.
Getting a few ultimates on the board. You got the pop, got the shatter, but Toxic Flow coming up to the barrage. That is gonna be probably the win condition here for Claptune.
Oh, you gotta think so. But then you have a massive shatter coming in here from Missy, making that barrage feel almost invisible, really, because nobody dropped from Toxic Flow. The point is about to be captured here by OllieBurn, and all they have to do is just keep creating space so no members of Claptune can get the overtime tick. But Freyr has different things in mind, as Claptune's Mercy and their Hammond actually are going to be able to get to the point, but they look like they were a little too out of position right there, as Chipset does go down. Freyr somehow able to stay alive in the fight, but Missy does get one, and now as the kills are coming across, the Bob is shooting some shields, not going to stall out the payload anymore, as a Resurrect does come in, and you know, with no supports left, there's only so much Claptune can do, and OllieBurn finally going to find a round victory here in the grand finals.
Absolutely, OllieBurn looking strong here on Village, but once again, this is the brawl map of the 3. This is going to be the question as to whether on the other 2 maps this will still be the case here. Because the styles start to change ever so slightly. The styles start to shift over from the brawl. You can do that here on a shrine to a degree, but it does give the opportunity for the other team to also run a few different things. And on Sanctum especially, there the brawl starts to very much lose its traction. So OllieBurn has to clear this one out. Otherwise, Claptune might start running away with it on Sanctum.
And here we see Code Eclipse yet again running out in the Sombra. Enjoyed the abilities in that previous round, so gonna have to use those hacks, hopefully to their advantage yet again. Toxic Flow, though, we know this Pharah is a big pick for them, sticking to it. Not having an issue with the composition so much as how it was being played by the team, as Toxic Flow does take down one, but Chipset going down is going to be a big loss for Claptune, and it's going to be up to OllieBurns to capitalize on no main tank being available. That's pretty difficult when your main support is nowhere to be found.
It's extremely difficult. OllieBurn is going to take control of the team early on. But Toxic Flow is still being a pain from up on high, and that is still something that you're really gonna have to deal with here to try and keep hold of this point.
And now with two members going to be falling here on OllieBurns, it feels like that hack, just a little bit of an annoyance, but no eliminations are going to come out of OllieBurns, and a questionable barrage usage here by Claptune gonna get themselves a fight win secured. And that was a quick barrage, but you gotta think you could have saved that for another fight.
I mean, you could have, but he just threw in 2 shots and already got 20% to the next one. So, honestly, how much has there been lost? Claptune, indeed, now in good control of the map, already equalizing out the percentage. OllieBurn still has a bit of a climbing to do. They do have the Coalescence, are coming up to a Shatter, a Grab, and Sound Barrier as well. But these hacks have been primarily the detriment here for Claptune.
Oh yeah, look at that. Shevchenko is actually going to get one elimination there, but Claptune finds more. Make that 4 to be exact. Looking for the 5th and 6th right here, and they do find those final 2 eliminations. Yes, they find both of them, and that's going to be another fight win here for Claptune as they just hit 50% of the point taken.
It was an investment of both support ults, though one of them was Valkyrie, which has not really been the game-changing ultimate for a while. It is an okay ultimate, but honestly nothing too much lost there. So you still have a Shatter and the High Noon for Claptune to hold on to this defense. OllieBurn has been trying this whole time to build up the EMP. That is going to be online right now. You can combine that with the Grab, you can combine that with the Shadow, you can combine that with a whole lot of things to really secure yourself this point, but it's going to take investment.
Oh, yeah, the High Noon gets canceled out by that beautiful EMP, but Toxic Flow didn't get caught in it. And now with the Barrage picking up one and another coming in from the left click, it's going to be up to this Pharah to really carry the fight here for Claptune, because Royals is doing a lot of work there on the other side for OllieBurns, and this is actually last fight territory here if OllieBurns don't pull it out. So they need to get this fight win, and they need to get control of the point. But it's still in favor of Claptune. And with Chipset holding the point down here, it's going to be very difficult to break through. But when your Pharah Mercy falls out of the sky, it becomes a hell of a lot easier there. Royals carrying his team through this fight right now and looking to hold on to this point here for the rest of the round.
Absolutely, and now indeed Claptune gonna be on the board to need to bring this one on back. Ion's gonna get staggered out, so that is painful here for Claptune. They do still have the Grab at the ready though, and Plushcap has used the Sound Barrier, so you're gonna need to use your own Graviton Surge to hold on to this fight, because that's honestly the only real counter you've got. Shevchenko is coming up to the Bob as well. But Toxic Flow right up in the sky, building up the barrage and getting the crossfire going is going to be a big win condition. So the hack comes through.
The hack does come through, and the Graviton Surge is actually used right there. Plushcap going to be picking up the first elimination, followed up by maybe a second that comes up. Yeah, it's going to be 2-3. I mean, the rest of the team's just going to follow suit. OllieBurn, very nice fight win there, using only their Graviton Surge. So nicely done to keep the ultimate economy very healthy while winning out the fight.
Absolutely, though. Ultimate economy, while healthy, you now got a Shatter and a Coalescence. There is no EMP coming up as yet, and Claptune has got a whole lot of death coming right at the ready. You've got the graph, you still have the barrage, the nano is coming through as well, which can keep this Pharah alive potentially through these fights because there's no sleep or anything else. That is going to be huge.
There, the Graviton Surge followed up by the barrage is going to be used. Finds one, finds a second. The Coalescence couldn't finish him off fast enough at time to kill. Just not where you want it to be. And as the round is ticking down, the overtime is going to be flipped over to Claptune, and they're going to send us to a round 3 here on Nepal.
Claptune really wants to clean this one on out. This is their fight to win. This is a match point. If they manage to win Sanctum, they go home with the victory, because that is what's there to gain in the Pluto Cup. You will get the victory in this series. So doing very well at the moment. Now indeed on Sanctum, as we said before, OllieBurn has had some trouble on Sanctum. So this is going to be the question whether they'll be able to bring this one back. Claptune still teasing the Toxic Flow Pharah, which even on Sanctum can get a lot of value.
And, you know, Sanctum, we should point out, this map does not very much favor brawling. I'd argue it's the map that favors brawling the least out of the 3 we see on Nepal, with the environmental kill possibilities, the long-range sight lines that you can have a Hanzo maybe show up to, or in case of Big Baum, you have your Ash showing up to. And it's going to be difficult. So OllieBurn, I think they need to try and force the fights on their terms, and it's hard to do so, but Royals does a great job at pulling anyone he wants into his area, takes down Big Baum, but Toxic Flow evening the fight out. So we're stuck here with a 5 versus 4, a beautiful concussive blast by Toxic Flow, something we've come to expect from this Pharah player.
And with a full health Roadhog, that's Toxic Flow already up to 60% of the barrage, not even through the first fight.
Yeah, the barrage is going to be nearly ready, and even though there's a hack coming in there, the hack isn't going to amount to too much. I mean, this map does have the ability to watch Pharah die to an environmental kill off the hack, so you gotta be careful where you get hacked by that Sombra. But yeah, to your point, Belly, looking at the top of your screens, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the only ultimate anywhere near finished is Toxic Flow, and he's ahead of chipset by 20%, and that's incredible.
That is amazing. Now coming up to this ultimate fully, as well as this is trying to get these hooks in. Like, this is looking rough for OllieBurn. They cannot get the brawl on through as these late picks come on in as well. Shevchenko is forced to swap over to the McCree to just try and deny that space, but to even get the opportunity to deny space to Toxic Flow, you have to get in first. And Claptune is not allowing the enemy team to even get towards the point, let alone start to contest this Pharah.
And you gotta wonder where a Sigma pick could possibly be here. Royals with that Hog, it is a very offensive tank. It's going to be good at creating openings, as the Shatters create a wide open door to just storm through, and a nice little barrage to finish it off there. But back to that point, Royals on this Hog is not something that you're going to be getting too much defensive utility out of it, if any. I mean, having that Sigma on your team, it's a second shield. Sigma Rhine is something we've seen run fairly often, and honestly, I feel like it would be doing a lot more than a Hog. Ultimately, though, Royals does swap over to a Zarya.
Code Eclipse manages to dodge the Fire Strike, does not manage to dodge the Hellfire Shotgun.
Oh no, but you cannot dodge this either. A Graviton Surge is used, and with everyone just clumped up, sitting nice and pretty, the fight is going to be won. And Belly, we're at 92% on the point now. There's only going to be a possible single-person recontest coming in, and that's even if overtime can be hit. Claptune dominating in this matchup, running back, taking that 2-0, and Claptune are going to win the EU Pluto Cup Grand Finals. Oh, never mind.
Oh.
I was totally wrong. I just found out that we have a different deck going in this. So Claptune still needs to win one more map. So ignore that call right there. Found out after the fact, but nonetheless, Claptune are poised very well to take this series with a 2-1 lead.
With a 2-0 lead, so this would be a 3-0 lead at this point because they have one map up. So that means indeed that we will be going to another map. Let's see. There is still some information getting given. So yeah, that is absolutely a thing to wait on out. But for as far as we know, we still have one map to go. And
And so as we try and figure out this end, we're actually pleasurably allowed to talk about the incredible Pharah play that we saw coming out. I mean, Claptune's running of that Pharah, not only is it a fantastic job by Toxic Flow to be able to perform on that Pharah and do so well enough, but the team has to play around it too. You know, Overwatch being one of the most team game based games out there, you really rely on those other 5 members. And while we talk up Toxic Flow a ton, and justifiably, you can't undermine the effect that members like Freyr, who is pocketing Toxic Flow, or members like Chipsa and Ion, the tanks that cause so much chaos or hold the line for him to cause so much chaos. It really comes down to a whole team effort.
And really is a whole team effort, and Claptune is doing very well at making sure that Toxic Flow gets that space to do what he needs to do. But indeed, the front line has also been doing very well. Chipset and Ion being able to just hold the front line versus the tanks from OllieBurn, and they've really been just controlling the fights and controlling the game. Like either Toxic Flow gets a pick or the front line gets a pick, but OllieBurn really having some trouble here to find the control that they need to have these control points coming in their favor.
Well, we got to go to a quick break before we have an opportunity to possibly see your winners of the Pluto Cup, as it's going to be a 3-0 lead for the side of, Claptune, and they're going to be looking to cement that after this break. Welcome back there, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We had a few issues to sort through, but after some discussion and some admin conversations, we are going to end the series here with a 3-1 victory going over to the side of Claptune. And, unfortunately, we didn't get to see much more of the series, but from what we did see, we got a chance to see some really fantastic gameplay, specifically some fantastic Pharah play, and, some fantastic teamwork overall. So, I guess, Belly, before we end up signing this off, is there anything you want to say to everyone watching on the stream?
I mean, there has been a thing that I've been wanting to do lately that I've been trying to do more, which has been the following, and that is throwing out some thank yous, as we have a lot of people making sure that this all does keep running for all of the productions that we do. For today, we had LaFon on the buttons for the production. We had Evie and Venetia's doing the observing, depending on which map it was on, depending on which match it was on. We had Caps Lock and you said doing some observing. Jaffa was the admin that makes sure that everything runs as smoothly as it can be. So thank you to everyone involved to make sure that that we just managed to keep these productions going. And actually also thank you to the co-caster. Beanies.
Well, thank you too, Belly. And yeah, shout out to everyone who makes this magic happen. You only saw that the two faces of me and Belly today, but there are a plethora of people who make all this magic happen. Well deserved thank you going over to them. And that's not the end of your fun today, ladies and gentlemen. If you were enjoying the Pluto Cup, well, EU may be done, but NA is nowhere near done, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see on your screen, we'll be going to a 4:30 Eastern time start for North America. Tiny Birds will be taking on Team Samter. And then throughout the night, we will have the W Train show up, Team Soib, Team Hida, and Team Sakaki. So if anyone is looking to root for a team, if anyone's looking for some more high quality Overwatch brought to you by Elo Hell Esports, well, just go get a drink, maybe go hit the shower, clean up a bit, because 4:30 is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't want to miss any of the action.
Not a bit. That's going to be Labosco and Gunther bringing you that coverage as the casters. So make sure to check that out, because that's going to be some great quality content.
Oh yeah, Gunther as a color commentator, I am ecstatic to listen to that talk. But enough from us. You've heard us talking all afternoon. So the final words that we'll be saying is thank you for coming out and supporting Aloha Esports and the Pluto Cup. Hopefully you guys had a good time watching the broadcast, just like we had a good time calling the action. And we'll see you guys later on. GG's, everyone.